there. But back to your tune.
Yeah.
It's one of my new favorite songs. It's called These Waters. Right?
Yeah.
And I loved it the first time I heard it. It had a different title in my head.
Right.
But I love this song. So after we'd done our first batch of songs in 2015, I was kind of on a hiatus doing the drum parts. And then after maybe 2 years, you, me, and our friend Coop got together and started rehearsing your new stuff and hashing it out. And before we knew it, within 2 or 3 months, we had 4 more new tunes.
Yeah, ready to go.
Right? 4?
Yeah, the great Eric Cooper.
Great Eric Cooper. Go say hi. Hey, Eric. But then we hashed out this song, and it's beautiful. I was wondering if we could do like a lyric dive. Maybe we can kind of talk about like what kind of goes into like writing a song like this, because it's so emotional. There's so much here that when you're just listening to it, you don't think about it. But
yeah, sure. Yeah, that's no problem.
The first line is like, "Baby, come back to me. My mother came into my deepest sleep." Is that true? Like something happened in your relationship, and then you had a dream.
Yeah,
your mom came back and like said something.
Yeah, for sure. It's all these songs, and the reason I have so much angst about these songs, and I want them to be right, is like they're all just true. Like it's basically a diary. I mean, there's nothing in this. There's nothing really there's metaphor in my songs, sure, but if you just read the lyrics, I mean, it's pretty much all real stuff. And that one specifically, I was going through a hard time personally. I was dealing with battling some things that I never really had to battle with growing up. Depression, for one. No shame in saying that. We all go through it.
No, I've gone
depression, a little bit of stuff with alcohol and my vices and decisions I was making that were just they weren't healthy, and I was going through some relationship problems. I was just not myself, essentially.
But you say it perfectly in the first 4 lines. It's just like your mom came back to you in this dream, said you've been in a bad way these days, lost in the middle of who I was and who I'm meant to be. There's so much there in just that little.
I wrote that in Ocracoke summer before, a year ago, a year passed from this summer. So summer 2017 I just wrote that verse line. That's all I had was the melody in that verse line, and it was just true. It was my mom came back to me, but more like my mom came back to me, but like my upbringing came back of like, this isn't how I was raised. I can get through this stuff, and I'm a better person than how I've been acting. And it's about kind of revisiting your past and your upbringing to sort of get through something you're going through now. So I was able to say, this is something you're going through, but there's no reason you can't go back to who you're meant to be and beat who you are right now. Yeah.
And she continues in your dream, the second verse, the drinking too much, don't see your dad enough. Yeah. And it's great when you get to that chorus, and then you're dreaming forward, and you're thinking about, where do I need to be? Yeah. What do I want to? Yeah. Where do I see myself? And not begging, but the first line is, let me back in your waters, babe, which is just like, let me back into your life and we can hash this out, right? Like, is that kind of
essentially, yeah. So these waters part of it, it means everything metaphorically, obviously. Like, let me back in your waters, let me back into your world, let me swim in your waters. Let's really dive back in. Let's connect again and figure out what's going on in my life that I can do better, and is this what we want? And like, let's just grow and get back to how we started. And waters is also like, there's, I mentioned Ocracoke a few times, and being in that special place, which means a lot to me and all the people closest to me in my life. And it was just a matter of let's just not start over. I feel like that's a little cliche, but just like let's be real about what I'm going through, and just let me back in, and let's work it out, essentially. And how can I heal things if I can just get back to being myself again,
I also had a question, was that this whole song is a conversation with your partner, in a sense. You're talking to her about your dream, and then like, let me back in, and then at the third verse, you're talking to yourself and to her at the same time. At least it seems to me.
Third,
which is took a drive to my hometown, cut the grass and walked around. You kind of dream going back to it and seeing yourself back at home. Like, what was I like before all these problems? Yeah. And I think that's great.
Yeah, and again, that's one of those things that it worked out. Like taking a drive to my hometown I did that in my head, but I also at that time, I was doing it for real. I was going home to see my dad a lot of weekends. And so that helped. It helped to just reconnect with my family. There was a lot of stuff going on with my family at the time, so I was going home a lot.
That's right.
But it really helped. It was just like, oh yeah, this is where I come from. Like this is how I was, born and raised. And the stuff about the next line is like, I asked my neighbor, what can you remember about me being how I was when I was 16? And it was just, essentially what a memory of me at 16 looked like. It was my mom was alive and holding hands, and she's singing, I think it's Here Comes the Sun in my song, and whatever. It's just all these visceral, real memories that bring you back to how good things could be, and,
Yeah, and I think people connect with that. When you say like a genuine lyric, people can almost tell it's genuine.
Yeah.
Over a recording.
Yeah.
And that might be a little too hoity-toity spiritual, but I definitely feel it. Like when somebody sings something that definitely happened, somebody can tell the difference.
Yeah. And songs can mean, you can interpret.
Right.
I like when you can listen or read lyrics to a song and feel something, and it could be totally different from what the artist might have been doing or feeling. Like, totally different. But as long as you feel something.
As long as you tell the story with genuine feeling,
yeah.
And usually that's from experience.
Yeah.
I find that you definitely feel emotion towards that. And then the bridge is just like, we got so much left to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's great. It's almost like it could be its own chorus.
Yeah.
To be 100% honest.
Yeah.
If you want to check that song out, it's on his Spotify, John Gilbride's Spotify. It's also on the list I mentioned before. It's a great tune. I truly love it. And if you listen to it, the title I thought it was going to be was Asheville, Nashville, just because it's like my favorite part of
the lyric is Asheville, Nashville, westward bound, and that's a real text that I sent. That's from an actual text.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like driving wild across Chesapeake Bay has meant everything to me for the past 5 summers. And the text Asheville, Nashville, westward bound was just something I sent, trying to convey like there's a lot more for us to see and a lot more for us to do and a lot of progress left to be made and a lot of happiness yet to be found, and it just was represented in this little text about literally going places. So the chorus, you listen to that chorus, you would imagine the song was about Asheville or Nashville, and it really has nothing to do with either city at all, really.
I mean, it's just a great rhyme, and
yeah.
I mean, now that you've actually been to Asheville,
yeah, it helps.
It's cool.